Trevor the traction engine loves his work at the orchard, but sometimes he doesn't have enough work to do. This makes him sad, but Edward the Blue Engine always cheers him up when he stops by. One day during a heat wave, Trevor was sitting in the sun. Edward sidled up alongside. "Oh dear, Trevor, what's with the long face?" "I do like to keep busy all the time, especially in this heat. But the victor told the men to stay indoors today to not get something called heat stroke." "That's very wise. This heat isn't good for people, you know." "Oh yes, but it does make things boring for me." "Well, it's a good thing I have a surprise for you." "A surprise? For me?" "Yes, my fat controller has asked the vicar to borrow you to work at his new harbour. We do hope the vicar says yes." "So do I! A harbour is very exciting." The vicar did agree, and so Trevor was sent down on Edward's train the next day. Thomas bustled into his junction just as Trevor was being unloaded from his flatbed. He had never met Trevor before. "Hello, who's this, Edward?" "This is a good friend of mine called Trevor." "Trevor, this is Thomas the Tank Engine." "Hello, Thomas. It's a pleasure to meet you. Will you be bringing me down to the harbour?" "Oh, bless you, no," chuckled Thomas. "I have a passenger train to pull. Maybe I'll see you later." "I hope so. We've never seen a fellow like you before." Trevor smiled happily at the comment, while Jem Cole, his driver, piped up as Thomas left. "We have to drive that, Trevor. It's not that far." "Bye-bye, Trevor," called Edward. "Have fun. I'll be back to pick you up in a few days." And Trevor set off down the road. It wasn't long until Trevor was hard at work in the harbour. Everything had been left in confusion as Percy had whisked away to collect more stone. "You'd think they'd have enough stone with the amount that's lying about." Toby smiled kindly. "Percy does what he can, but it's hard to get road vehicles such as yourself around in here. Your big wheels means you can do it easily." "Well, it's a good thing I'm here, and this is just the sort of job I like." The workmen loved having Trevor to tidy up the site. He moved the stones to the cranes to be used to reinforce the harbor walls. Percy came with new pylons to hold it all together. It was a heavy job, but Trevor didn't mind. He bustled backwards and forwards all day. The workmen sang his praises, as did Thomas and Toby. But I'm afraid to say he had gained a rather envious audience. "I mean, who does he think he is? He's come to do honest work. He's come to my harbour and thinks he can do things better than me. He's finishing putting together a harbour wall. You know they've been wanting to do that for weeks." "Thomas is right. What Trevor's doing is essential work. I could have done it. He's a traction engine. He's meant to do that work. It's nothing an engine or a lorry can't do. Trevor's large wheels makes it easy for him to get around stuff. We know that if Birdie or some lorry with some tiny wheels tried setting over our track, they'd get stuck." "Thomas is right. Back in the day, we had many of them to help out at the harbor at my old line. I don't see what he can do that I can't." The two older engines rolled their eyes exasperatedly. Clearly, Percy didn't want to understand what made Trevor so useful. Percy would just have to see for himself. The next morning, Percy found Trevor on the other side of the harbor. He had just delivered piles of bricks to build a new warehouse. He smiled politely at Percy as he approached. "Hello, I'm Trevor. Who are you?" "I'm Percy and I run this harbour, and I don't appreciate you taking it over." Trevor was offended. "Taking it over? I was asked to help by your fat controller." "Bah! This harbour doesn't need a traction engine. and lots of things that I can do. I can work anywhere and haul anything. I'm moving around these bricks and dirt today, and I finished the key walls yesterday. Who knows what I'll do tomorrow? Hopefully leave. Besides, you're rather slow. More of a slug than an engine. I might be slow, but I'm strong. Perfect for what the workmen need me for. Bah! And Percy huffed away. I'll show him what a traction engine can do, Trevor gritted. The furthest most key was already fully built and was exporting stone from the quarry. To get to it, however, Percy had to pass through the incomplete sections of the harbor. Trevor was idling near where a small road train was loading a container onto a flatbed truck. Just as it was lowering it down, the operator got distracted by the foreman running up to him. There was a loud crash as the container fell onto the tracks. Luckily, it wasn't broken, but that was the least of anyone's problems. Trevor's boiler went cold. Without a moment's hesitation, he sprang into life. Throw a line on that container! A number of workmen ran down the line to warn Percy. As Trevor pulled and pulled, Percy came screeching over the points just as Trevor got the container clear. Both locomotive and traction engine were in shock. There was a long silence. Now, if I was an engine, ventured Trevor, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Yes, I'm sorry, Trevor. I'm sorry it was a mess when you got here. It wasn't your fault. It's the men who let the things get so crazy. I'm sorry you felt I was taking your spot. Of course not. A traction engine is essential to the construction of a harbor. Everyone knows that. The two engines grinned and got back to work. The two engines worked together well for the rest of the day and a little bit into the night. As the third day dawned, Jem Cole was getting Trevor ready for his final day. The heat wave was dying down, and the vicar wanted Trevor back for the next day. He had just started moving around when Percy came whistling up to him. Thomas is coming, and he has a surprise for you. A surprise for me? Percy said no more, and a little while later, Thomas, Annie, and Clarabelle pulled smartly up to the platform. Out streamed several excited little children. These children have been promised some seaside fun. Please bring them down to the beach, Trevor. Trevor could hardly contain himself as the children piled into the trailer and moved off. He spent the rest of his final day giving rides up and down the beach. He brought them back to Thomas as the sun set. Trevor was to set out first, and all three of the branch line engines had come to see him off. Goodbye, Trevor. Thanks for your help. Yes, thank you, Trevor. Now I know what useful machines traction engines are. We might need your help again here sometime. Feel free to stop by if you're in town. That night, Trevor sat in his shed at the orchard, remembering the fun he had had and the new friends he had met. Then he went happily to sleep at his shed at the bottom of the orchard.